Hi, Mia. It's Diana from DOT.
Hey, good evening, Diana. Good evening, Fred. Good evening. Welcome, everyone.
Hi there.
Hello.
Okay, let me try it now. Can everyone hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
now.
Yep.
Good evening,
Okay.
Calista.
All right.
FYI, I had
everyone?
to leave at 8 o'clock, so just let you know, so you won't think I'm just like being out early.
No worries. We'll try and be quick. And you've changed, Callista.
I know, I got a tan, maybe a little extra hair, getting ready for winter.
I was gonna say.
How you been, Fred?
Like what you did with the
Long time
whiskers,
no
though.
see. Oh, thank you. Working on my selfie game. Well, I want to remind everyone that today is the meeting for 71st Precinct Community Council. Okay, so that starts at 7:30, 8 o'clock. I sent that information to you.
So no, you have to give them the announcement, tell them they have to come to our transportation committee meeting.
Yeah, how about that? That's a good idea. Let's do that. All jokes aside, that's a good idea.
All right. Are they, hold on, for some reason I thought they were on Thursdays.
Yes, they normally are. I believe the captain has something that he had to do tomorrow, so it was switched for today.
Okay, all right.
The police captain, yes.
Fred, this is Diana.
Yes.
My colleague Philip is on the line, and Warren as well from MTA. He will be doing the presentation tonight, okay?
Perfect. Thanks so much, Diana. Appreciate it.
No
and
problem.
welcome, Philip, and welcome, Warren. All right. Before I'm just going to give just a couple of more minutes to allow people to join, and then we're going to get started.
Sounds good. Thank you for having us.
Dave, Paco, how's it going, sir?
Hi there. It's going well. Sorry for the delay. Nice to see you again.
No worries. Great to see you as well. It's almost like a family reunion. I haven't seen a lot of you in a while.
Did you have a good summer?
Summer was good. Too short, but I say that about weekends too. You know, weekends, vacations.
Never enough time.
Never enough.
Well, the clerk, and she said nothing at all. She thought.
Okay, we'll give it about another 2. Well, hold on. Let me just see. Okay, we have more. Okay, we'll give about 1 more minute, and then we're gonna start. Okay, I have 6 minutes after, so let us get started. All right, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. The time is now 7:06 p.m. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening for the first Transportation Committee meeting for Community Board 9 for the 2022-2023 board year. My name is Fred Baptiste. I currently serve as the chair of Community Board 9. I am filling in the capacity of ad hoc chair for this evening as we have not yet appointed a chair for the committee. So I hope to go through that and actually designate someone who's going to serve as the chair. But for now, you have to deal with me. But otherwise, it's great to see everyone and a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar names. Let me just start off by thanking you for coming back for yet another year. You have all been dedicated. You've been invested in this community, in this district. I thank you for your continued service, and I'm just looking forward to another fantastic year from this committee. You've always been one of our strong supporters and performers in CB9. I definitely have a debt of gratitude to you, and on behalf of the district, I thank you, and looking forward to everything great that comes from this committee. Okay, so with respect, so that's the welcome. Just taking some quick administrative items. So for attendance, so Ted, I see you on here. Felice, I see you. Paco, I see you, I have you, and Callista, I have you as well. Are there any other members of the committee that I haven't called out?
Fred, I did not get a response to my application, so I'm not sure what my status is.
You didn't get a
This is
response?
Jeff. No.
Oh, okay. Well, by the power invested in me, you are now on this committee. Thank you.
Congrats.
Consider yourself added. Yes.
Okay.
You may curse me
Oh.
later, but for now, yes, absolutely. But thanks for
that
coming.
was
I'm
easy.
sorry, I don't know how that didn't work. Okay.
All right.
All right. So yeah, Mia, if you can just please make that note that that Jeff Granum is also on the committee as well.
Sure thing.
All right. Okay. So with that being said, I see a quorum. We're going to begin business. I guess the first item that I did want to do before we go into introductions, because we do have DOT. Do you have some time, or are you guys pressed for time?
I believe that we requested, we would like to request if we can present first, if that's all right with the committee.
Okay, so let's do this. So I just want to, I'll take a motion, well, unless there's any objection, I want to reorder the agenda. So we'll do welcome. We will do the presentation next. So that will be item 2. Then we will do introductions for item 3. Then we'll do committee expectations as item 4, and the rest of the agenda should be the same. Is there any objections to that? Can we do that common consent? Sounds good. We're going to have that as common consent. So the agenda is amended.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. All right, so we're going to go into the next one. We're going to go to the new item to the presentation. So we have representatives from the MTA and from DOT as well. They're going to give a presentation with regards to the B41 Flatbush Avenue project. So we have representatives here. You have the floor. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Great. Thank you so much for having us. As mentioned, my name is Philip Bethel.
I'm sorry, before you start, please, before you start, we need someone in the back to mute themselves because I'm hearing other things instead of this gentleman. Thank you.
Great. So I'm going to I will share my screen. So I think that needs to be enabled for me. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Give me one moment as I make you co-host.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You should be good to go.
I am. So, as always, hopefully this works. Can people with any luck see a title slide there? Great.
Yes. Yes, we
Wonderful. So as I mentioned, my name is Philip Bethel. I'm the Deputy Director for Bus Priority in our New York City DOT's Transit Development Group. And I'm also the project manager for our Flatbush Avenue Bus Priority project. So I'm very excited to be here today with the MTA, to talk to you folks about the planning for bus and pedestrian improvements on Flatbush Avenue. So we're at the very beginning of an extensive outreach and planning process. I'll be working with everyone to move this project forward and deliver meaningful improvements for bus riders and everyone who uses Flatbush Avenue. So we definitely do appreciate the invitation to come present to you today. We'll certainly be coming back in the future with a lot more to present, but we appreciate the opportunity to show what we have so far. So in terms of our program, we'll be given a brief overview of where Flatbush Avenue fits into City DOT's recent efforts to improve bus service for New Yorkers, the tools we can use to improve service and safety for all road users, an overview of where we're going with the project, then we can have any discussion if the board would so like. So on to some background. As you may know, in June 2022, Mayor Adams and the MTA Chair and CEO Lieber met for a Transit Improvement Summit. And so in that summit, DOT and MTA pledged to complete 150 miles of new and enhanced bus lanes and busways over the next 4 years. So as part of that commitment, we are launching this planning community outreach for our next round of bus priority projects for 2023, including Flatbush Avenue. And in addition to that, a number of other things came out of that summit, including working on automated enforcement of bus lanes, transitional priority, prioritizing access transfer all modes, addressing quality of life issues in the subway, and expanding real-time public information systems, so bus riders know when the next bus is coming. So that transit improvement summit between the mayor, between the MTA, that built on the New York City Streets Plan. This document was released in 2021, and it's a 5-year transportation master plan to help improve safety, accessibility, and quality of life for all New Yorkers. The Streets Plan requires City DOT to reconfigure streets to improve bus service in order to increase the use of sustainable travel modes, expand access to job opportunities, and reduce barriers to travel for New Yorkers. And so as you can see on this map from the Streets Plan, Flatbush Avenue is one of those corridors identified for bus improvements in the Transit Priority Plan. And a key focus of the Streets Plan, it's a focus on equity. So New York City DOT has developed what we call priority investment areas, or PIAs. And the largest input to this is the percentage of a population that's non-white by race and ethnicity, and the percentage of low-income households in an area. So this data helps capture historically underserved neighborhoods and vulnerable communities. The other two major inputs to the PIAs are density of population and jobs, and also the level of previous DOT investment in each neighborhood. DOT is trying to make sure that if there are areas that have not received investment in the past, we're going to make sure to prioritize those areas in the future. As you can see on the map, parts of CB9, Flatbush, Prospect Leopards Gardens are Tier 1 priority investment areas, and there are a number of Tier 2 and Tier 3 priority investment areas along the rest of the corridor. So why are we focusing on Flatbush Avenue? As you're very aware, it's a critical cross-borough transportation corridor running through the heart of Brooklyn, from downtown Brooklyn to Kings Plaza. Thousands of bus riders depend on buses on Flatbush every day to help them live their daily lives, to get to work, school, see family, or worship. So buses on Flatbush Avenue that carry over 118,000 daily passengers on 12 routes, 22,500 alone on the B41 running the length of Flatbush Avenue. These buses, they serve neighborhoods with high concentrations of transit-dependent New Yorkers. Many sections experience very slow travel speeds for buses. Bus riders, they tend to have lower incomes than subway or motor vehicle commuters, and the majority are people of color. And as such, there's a real equity component to improving bus service. And in addition to the urgent transit needs, Flatbush Avenue is a Vision Zero priority corridor. This means that Flatbush Avenue is more dangerous than most roads in New York City, especially for pedestrians. And these are some of the issues we're going to try to address with these projects. Over the past decade, City DOT has been committed to improving Flatbush Avenue for all road users. We've implemented a number of quick build street improvement projects, as well as longer term capital projects. So you can see a list of just a smattering of these here. They include congestion reduction projects, pedestrian safety projects, pedestrian plazas, and a protected bike lane along Prospect Park. So over the 7-mile length of the corridor we're studying, Flatbush runs through a large swath of Brooklyn, many different and unique neighborhoods. There are nearly 1 million people in the 7 community districts on Flatbush Avenue. And it is important to mention that 59% of households along Flatbush Avenue do not own a car, and 76% of commuters use public transit, walking, or biking. 69% of residents along Flatbush Avenue are non-white, and as mentioned, many neighborhoods are in Tier 1 or Tier 2 PIAs. So given the high ridership and the transit-dependent communities living on Flatbush Avenue, DOT feels that improving the Flatbush Avenue corridor for bus riders is essential for local residents and the region at large. So there are multiple roadway cross sections throughout Flatbush Avenue. As you know, Flatbush Avenue in CB9 is very different than Flatbush Avenue in downtown Brooklyn or out by Kings Plaza. So for the purpose of our planning process, we're looking at sort of 3 major sections. From Tillery Street to Empire Boulevard, downtown Brooklyn, Prospect Park. That area, you really have, the roadway really is acting to get traffic onto Manhattan Bridge and a retail corridor around Atlantic Terminal. From Empire Boulevard down to Nostrand, it's a local retail corridor, serving education landmarks like Brooklyn College and Erasmus. And then south of there, Nostrand Avenue, Kings Plaza, you have the local retail corridor in the north. Then the roadway widens into a large arterial roadway approaching Kings Plaza and out to Floyd Bennett and the Rockaways. So here are a few different cross sections. You can see from north to south, the roadway looks very different and how it's arranged physically on the ground. In that northern section, Devon Street to Livingston Street, it's a 60-foot section or so, and often there will not be parking, especially in the northern section. These are the areas that are trying to get traffic off of Flatbush Avenue onto the approach to Manhattan Bridge. Down between Empire Boulevard and Nostrand Avenue, as you're well aware, it's a local retail corridor. And so a travel lane in each direction, turn lanes often, and parking lanes on a parking lane on the west side, and on the east side, an AM travel lane that moves traffic northbound, and a parking lane, loading lane in the PM. And finally, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, down towards Kings Plaza, the roadway really turns into a much larger roadway, almost 130 feet in width, with many, many travel lanes as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Warren Larry from MTA New York City Transit. He's going to discuss bus operations and ridership on the corridor. Warren?
Hey, good evening, everyone. Hey, thanks for having me out. Really appreciate coming out tonight and talking to you. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the transit options on the Flatbush corridor, and then particularly in your community board. So as you know, the B41 is the primary bus on Flatbush Avenue. It has a local and limited variant that runs from King Plaza all the way to downtown Brooklyn. There's a number of different routes that also operate on the Flatbush corridor besides the B41, the B9, the B67, the B103, the Q35 that runs to the Rockaways, and the BM2 Express bus. As you know, buses on Flatbush Avenue provide the critical connection to numerous destinations within Brooklyn, going all the way from the Rockaway to the beaches, all the way to Midtown Manhattan if you catch one of those express buses, and also provide connections to the numerous subway lines, the B, the D, the NQR, 2, 3, 4, 5S, and the Long Island Railroad. So we've done a preliminary analysis of speeds of the B41. In 2019, the average speed of the B41 along the entire corridor was about 5.9 miles per hour. If you look here, this is the AM peak period. You can see the approach into downtown Brooklyn, particularly in the northern part of the corridor, is extremely slow, below 5 miles per hour. And it continues to get slower heading north. You see that orange section there between Empire and Atlantic, about 5 to 7 miles per hour. And then the rest of the corridor averages about 7 to 10 miles per hour. The AM peak period trips take about 5 minutes longer than the overnight trip with no traffic. And as you well know, particularly in the section of Flatbush in your area, the traffic congestion and double parking causes slowdowns throughout the corridor, particularly in the Empire to Nostrand section and the downtown Brooklyn section. This is the PM peak period. We see the same issues in downtown Brooklyn. And then we can also see in the Empire to Nostrand section there, buses are still averaging about 5 to 7 miles per hour, particularly slow in your part of the corridor. And PM trips even slower than AM trips, with the average trip taking 9 to 11 minutes longer than an overnight trip. again, see the same issues, traffic congestion, double parking, particularly in commercial areas. The Flatbush corridor between Parkside and Empire, as you know, suffers from these issues as well.
Thank you, Warren.
You're welcome.
And so, as I mentioned, CDOT, we've identified Flatbush Avenue as a Vision Zero corridor. And so that means that it's one of the more dangerous corridors in the city. 164 people have been killed or seriously injured on Flatbush Avenue in the last 5 years, with over 3,000 injured. 10 intersections along Flatbush Avenue have been identified as Vision Zero priority intersections, which mean that they are some of the most dangerous intersections in the city. Good intersections. So as we are progressing through the outreach and the design process, we'll be studying potential design solutions to increase safety for all road users on Flatbush Avenue. This will build on a number of pedestrian and bicycle safety projects that DOT has previously undertaken on Flatbush. Of note, a number of Vision Zero priority intersections on Flatbush Avenue were removed from the last version after crash rates improved, including at Parkside Avenue and Glenwood Road. So this is definitely something that we're looking to address through this project. So understanding the buses on Flatbush Avenue are slow and stuck in traffic. The Flatbush Avenue residents and visitors depend on the bus for mobility. And that there's a demonstrated need for safety improvements along Flatbush Avenue. What can we do? I'm going to walk you through our bus priority and safety toolkits. These are proven techniques and strategies that DOT has employed in the past to improve bus speeds and increase safety. So we can employ a variety of different bus priority treatments to speed bus service. These strategies reorganize physical space to give buses priority on the street, reduce friction with other vehicles, or allow buses to get a head start on traffic. So I'm sure you've seen many of these out on the streets, but bus lanes, they're one of our go-to tools. They give the bus their own lane to travel in. They may run along the curb in place of parking, or they may be offset in the right-hand lane next to the curbside lane, as shown on the top left, allowing for loading or parking activity on the curb. Center running bus lanes keep buses away from the curb and the lane next to the curb, you can see in the top right. These minimize conflicts with other traffic, and they work particularly well in conjunction with cross-border islands. And in some cases, physical protection can be used to keep other traffic out of the bus lane, as you can see in the top right, where flex posts are used to do so. A busway is a street where traffic is restricted to allow buses to operate quickly and efficiently. In this case, only buses, trucks, and emergency vehicles are allowed through access. All other vehicles are allowed local access to access one block, but then they must take the next available right turn off of the busway. DOT has implemented busways in a number of locations around the city, including on 14th Street in Manhattan and J Street in Brooklyn. So limiting traffic has been shown to improve bus travel times, making for faster and more reliable travel for bus passengers. Finally, DOT can help speed buses through optimizing traffic signals for bus throughput, either through transit signal priority, which gives additional green time at the traffic light when buses approach, or through use of queue jump signals, which allow buses to get a head start on other traffic when the traffic light turns green. So this is our toolkit, and as we're moving forward with Flatbush Avenue, these are sort of the different options that we can use. We'll talk a little bit about our design process in a little bit. As the bus priority toolkit, it's designed to speed buses and minimize the time that riders wait at stops. However, for the time that bus riders do spend at stops, we have a number of tools that we can use to improve the bus rider experience while waiting for the bus. And this includes shelters, benches, and leaning bars, as you can see. In addition, we've also been working to improve the physical accessibility of bus stops. So bus riders have a level, concrete sidewalk at the front and back doors, so that riders using wheelchairs or mobility devices can easily and safely get on and off the bus. Another means of speeding bus service is to minimize the time that buses spend pulling in and out of stops. So on the bottom right, you can see an example of what we call a bus border, temporary or permanent design intervention that brings the bus stop to the bus into the parking lane, as opposed to bringing the bus into the parking lane to the stop. These can help make boarding the bus and getting off the bus quick and easy, and can speed bus service. So all travelers or pedestrians for at least part of our trip, and pedestrian safety improvements benefit all of us, whether or not we use the bus. As part of Vision Zero, DOT has been aggressively rolling out safety improvements in quick build and permanent materials. So a few of these design solutions are shown here on this slide. These include pedestrian islands and median extensions to shorten crossing distances and provide a refuge crossing large streets, and painted curb extensions, which can shorten crossing distances and be used to simplify complicated intersections. Bus boarding islands are a piece of bus infrastructure that can improve bus service by allowing for center running, bus lanes, or keeping buses off a service road, as well as shortening crossing distances and serving as pedestrian island in the middle of larger streets. And finally, in our toolkits, parking and curb regulation. Buses need to access the curb to make stops, so parking and loading regulations along the curb are a critical part of ensuring that buses can travel smoothly, especially in neighborhoods with high demand for curb access, and that certainly describes Flatbush Avenue in a lot of places. So tweaks to curb regulations can help manage double parking and ensure access to residences and businesses while speeding buses along. So in terms of next steps, where are we going with this project? So we're at the very beginning of our outreach and planning process. Over the coming months, we'll be continuing to gather feedback. We'll begin collecting bus and traffic data and begin the design process. We don't know yet which parts of our toolkit will be best suited to each section of Flatbush Avenue. Through an iterative design process, we're going to focus in on each section of the corridor and determine what tools work best. As you can see from the timeline, we're in the background overview stage. We're gathering data right now, we're doing our analysis. And we're actually about to go out and begin gathering more feedback from the community starting this fall. So we appreciate you inviting us here. This is a nice little kickoff, a preview to say we'll be coming back pretty soon if you'll have us. Once we get all that feedback, we get that data, we're going to be looking to design development at a high concept level. And we're going to be bringing that back to the community board, potentially the community advisory board, and to the public as a whole to get additional feedback, and then go through another plan iteration, at least one, maybe two. For these processes, we like to come back to the community a few different times throughout the process to get further feedback to refine what we're doing before we put it in the ground. And finally, once we do implement a project, we do monitoring and we do adjustments to make sure that it's working the best that it can for all users. And so in June, we held the kickoff meeting, and that was a sort of town hall where we did present this same presentation and then did take public comment and discussion from community members. I had about 100 people or so come out for that. It was a great experience. We're now doing our data collection. Now with school back in session, we can start collecting traditional traffic count data, which we're waiting for. Well, summer we can't collect while school is not in session. And we're going to be beginning our outreach community advisory board, which we'll be forming, and community boards. So as I mentioned, we'll definitely be coming back to CB9. We'll be developing conceptual plans hopefully through the end of the fall. And then beginning of next year, we'd like to be coming back to the community board, community advisory board, and the public to share some of those plans and to work through them with the hope and the plan of implementing some sorts of bus priority measures on Flatbush Avenue in 2023. And so that is sort of where we are at this point. Everything is on the table. We're certainly interested in hearing from Community Board 9 in terms of your thoughts on Flatbush Avenue in the corridor, whether in this venue or another. We really do appreciate the invitation and you taking your time.
Thank you very much for coming in that presentation. All right, so knowing this committee, I know we're going to have some questions out here. So what I would ask is just so that we can manage the process, if you could just use the raise hand function. Mia, you can probably see it better. You could just give me the speakers list who has questions, and then we'll go down and we'll take everyone's questions.
I see Felicia to raise hand.
Okay, go ahead, Felicia, you have the floor.
Hi, thank you for that detailed information. With that information that you provided, will that mean that the bus services will improve? Because right now it's at a dismal, which means that you have 4 buses coming at the same time. A lot of them are delayed. So I would like to know, with these enhancements that you have presented, will that include the improvement of the bus services?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the question, please. I will start on that, and Warren, if you have anything you'd like to add, feel free to jump in. So yes, all of these bus priority improvements are meant to speed the bus up, both in terms of travel speed, so you get to where you're going faster. Another major part of that is we're also looking to improve bus reliability. And so as you were describing, that terrible experience when you're sitting on for 20 minutes waiting for the bus and 4 of them arrive at once. You know, the next person's gonna have to wait another 20 minutes because 4 buses arrived at once. And so through being able to make sure that buses have a clear path, they're not getting stuck in congestion, we can make sure that the spacing between the buses is better. Another part of our toolkit that's very good for that also is transit signal priority and those queue jumps. So making sure that when the bus is getting to a traffic signal, as the red light's about to come, we give it a few more seconds of green time to get that bus through the light so that it can keep on its schedule, it's not delayed. Yes, the goal of our work is to make sure that the bus is moving faster and it's more reliable for riders.
And may I add that the junction of Atlantic Avenue is horrendous. The congestion is impossible. I have seen traffic agents trying to direct the traffic, but they can only be there but for so long. It's for so many hours, yes? So, I'm sorry, I'm walking. So, what improvements will we have there as well? Thank you.
Yeah, so we've not identified the specific improvements yet. We're in the very early phases of this process, but certainly we'll be looking at how do we get the bus through there faster with less congestion. And that will include looking at a variety of different things, including things that may not be bus related per se. Things like looking at what is the signal timing in that area, and is it the best signal timing to make sure the traffic flows as smooth as it's going to flow through there. But yeah, certainly that definitely will be one of, I think, there are many critical areas along Flatbush Avenue that we'll be looking at, but certainly Atlantic Terminal, Atlantic and Flatbush is one of those.
Thank you.
We have Paco and then Kalisa.
Hi there. Thank you for the presentation. Did you say this was the same as the one in June? Was it like?
Yes.
Okay. Because I saw that one as well. It's good to see it again. I can't recall if I made this comment then, so I will make it now. I appreciate the presentation and the expertise and the challenge you have, knowing that I think there are very few streets like Flatbush Avenue that encompasses 20 different types of New York City roadway in there, and it stretches all of Brooklyn. It's really a big undertaking. So I wish everyone luck that is on the design team and trying to do it all. And I know you'll hear from multiple community boards and multiple voices. And I've already heard a lot of elected officials are just supporting an improvement. And much like Felice was saying, it sucks right now. So there's a lot to do. What I would hope to see from this, and what I encourage you to do, and perhaps even tweak in this presentation, is that when you're showing like the existing toolkit, I think to me it's very underwhelming, and it's just showing these like little band-aids that do work and do get us from 0 to 5 miles an hour to 5 to 7 miles an hour, but like I'm sure you're well aware of other cities and countries that have like just really amazing bus rapid transit kind of service, which I know is still different than SBS, but I feel like this is really an opportunity unlike any other. And I hope that any naysayers about changing, some people just don't want any change, any naysayers to it would look at this and say, oh, it looks like they'll probably do some red paint somewhere and maybe there'll be flexible bollards or something like that. But I'd encourage you to get more supporters by showing just kind of what a revolutionary kind of change you could do to bring undoubtable improvements to the entire Flatbush corridor. And it will mean different things for different communities. But to me, looking at this, it's very detailed and clear, but it does strike me as it's just the stuff that we already have seen in other parts of the city. I don't see like, and I know nothing is decided yet, but even in when you showed the toolkit, like I would love to see examples of other cities that have done this right and have buses moving almost as efficient as subways just above ground. So I know it's a huge challenge, and I know there are many experts at DOT and MTA that know all of this stuff, but I think in presenting to the community, I think showing people what they can have that is really clearly a substantial improvement will get more support than just showing a little more paint or an offset lane here and there. So I want you to rise to the challenge, essentially. But thank you for the presentation, and good luck on all of it.
Yeah, no, thank you. I took that down, and we appreciate the charge to rise to that challenge. Thank you.
Calista?
Hey, I also echoed what Paco said, to be bold and go all out if you have to. I just wanted to share that yesterday, yesterday, I was waiting for the train, and the Q train at Prospect Park Station, and everyone loaded on when it arrived into the station, and then we're sitting there for a few minutes before the conductor makes everyone get off, and then the train is just stalled in the station. A bunch of people is on the platform. It's early in the morning, and my next thought was, okay, I'll get the 41, the B41 bus. And boy, was that the worst decision, because the B41 bus, when I boarded it at Empire Boulevard, it's a limited as well. It took us 40 minutes to get from Empire Boulevard and Flatbush Avenue to the arch where Grand Army Plaza is, and where the 2 and 3 station is at Grand Army Plaza. 40 minutes. That's how bad the traffic was. I would have been better off walking from Empire to Grand Army Plaza, and that wasn't even my final destination. So I just wanted to share that, because it is really horrendous how bad the bus service, and I can't even just blame the bus service, it's also just an excessive amount of congestion in the city. You have more people with cars now, especially since the pandemic, and we really need a solution, a big, bold solution to be able to move people from point A to point B. It's no reason why a bus of 40 something odd people, or even a train of hundreds of people, should be delayed, or like running late for work or appointments. So I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. And also, I'm grateful that you guys are open to feedback. And I just want you guys to know you're on the right path, but echoing what Paco says, we really need something bold, because it's not sustainable to have to, have such a horrendous commute. Thank you.
Thank you. No, we'll take that to heart. Thank you.
Mr. Grana?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Unless I missed it, I didn't hear any discussion about the impact that the congestion pricing that has been discussed for a few years, and most recently, all reports are indicating will be implemented within the next 18 months, will have on the type of plan that you've presented here tonight. And I would love to hear what you expect that to be, because the reports that are available to most people suggest that the outer boroughs will be severely impacted by people who will be looking to find alternate ways of getting around the congestion pricing, which could include people looking to park cars in downtown Brooklyn and get on public transportation, or just find other parts of Brooklyn to leave their cars when they're coming in from the outer boroughs or the suburbs. So was that taken into consideration as the plan that we just saw was developed?
Well, so we have not finished developing the plan yet. So we can actually, this is the right time to mention that. We can make sure we do take that into account. That is something we're thinking about a little bit, certainly. Especially from downtown Brooklyn, and the fact that, yes, the Manhattan Bridge will in effect have a toll where it does not have one now. From my perusal of the environmental assessment, I believe the majority of the scenarios actually showed, at least in downtown Brooklyn, fairly large decreases in traffic and larger decreases in the CBD, which actually may create some opportunities for us. But at this point, we're at the very beginning stages of our process. So we have not made any definitive choices anywhere. We'll definitely be paying attention to that process, and as more information comes out, especially once the Traffic Mobility Review Board does meet and sets what the pricing policies are, I think we'll have a pretty good, a little bit of a better idea of what volumes might be.
Fred, you're up next.
Okay. Well, before I'll go last, is there anyone else who has any questions or comments they wish to make?
I see Warren with his hand up.
So is there anyone else who has comments or questions?
I see another hand is going
I'm
up.
sorry, who chose the chair of this meeting?
A person of wisdom and great intelligence.
Just so everyone knows, that's my boss. But anyway, I'm an avid bike rider, and I do travel Flatbush from Empire to Eastern Parkway every day. And have you given any consideration to eliminate the parking and make that a travel lane for buses only in order to speed things up? Thank you.
Thank you. So we are considering pretty much the world, everything at this stage. We're just beginning. So certainly that is something we can look at, but no promises yet. I'm taking this all down.
Yeah,
Yes?
I'm not really interested in the world. I'm interested in Flatbush Avenue and the congestion. Whether it's pedestrian crossings at the library, to Grand Diamond Plaza, to bikers, etc. And there seems to be the sacrosanct reason for parking all along there, when that could be opened up for a travel lane for buses. And then you still have two ways for cars to go down. It's just my suggestion.
Yeah, no, I've taken that down in terms of removing the parking lane along Prospect Park and place now with the bus lane. So
Okay, and remember, Fred has recommended me for my comments, so take it seriously. Thank you.
you come well recommended.
Thank you.
Actually, I'm questioning who gave him the credentials for the meeting, but that's besides the point.
We'll talk about that tomorrow. It wasn't easy. Thank you.
There we go.
We have a VJ Wills.
That's me, Val Fleming. Can you hear me?
Yes, hey Val.
Yes.
I gotta change that. I was just kind of, maybe this is a comment, as we're moving forward, looking at different alternatives for the bus. I'm a driver. I've not gotten back on the train for like 2 years. I've gotten on the bus a couple of times, and I'm kind of revert back to driving, because when I get on the bus, I have to wait so long for the bus to arrive on a non-off-peak time that it's better for me to ride the train. I mean, to drive my car. But what I want to say is that, are we looking at the big 5-year plan, the 10-year plan? Because it seems, of my experience on the Transportation Committee, we keep doing little pockets here and there. And as we're doing the little pockets here and there are more things that impact the flow of the traffic. Someone said that because of COVID, we got more cars out there. Well, kind of before COVID, we had an influx of other type of vehicles that are out on the street as well. The deliveries, the Ubers, the different cars that are the limousine type cars that are on the road that also takes up more traffic. So what are we looking at for a bigger long-term flow? Because this is, to me, again, I think Jeffrey said, like a little Band-Aid, so how long is this going to work? And based on the information that you have, when you finally get the plan through, are you going to do another impact study or feasibility study to see if the things that you're discussing when you finally see it through, how it's going to apply? So I'm wondering, what is the real big plan for traffic for the entire Brooklyn? Because at certain times of day, I try not to even drive because it's just too much, because we have different things happening. People coming from work, the school buses are out there, you got the Ubers, you got the different vehicles. And then we have, but of course, to keep the economy going, we have the trucks that are delivering the goods and services that we need throughout the day. So how are we looking at transportation as a bigger picture than just a Band-Aid for a few mile stretch? Thank you.
Thank you. So the New York City Streets Plan, I think, is an attempt to begin looking at that higher level picture. That does look across all modes, across the entire city, but it is not a Brooklyn specific plan. I think that is a good comment. I'll take that back to some folks I've worked with. Maybe I can get you a better answer on how we're doing long range planning for Brooklyn. As yes, this is one street, one project. So as streets go, Flatbush Avenue is one of the bare streets in New York City. So, and in terms of on the micro scale, you were talking about weighing the impacts between different types of treatments on different modes, different ways of getting around. On the micro level, we do look very closely at what does an improvement mean for bus riders, for pedestrians, for those with limited mobility, for drivers, for truck loading or commercial loading, restaurants, businesses. These are all sort of the different things that we are looking at. And we do monitoring once our projects do go in. So what are the effects on general traffic speed? What are the effects on bus speed? Make sure that we are getting those types of improvements that we're looking for, and that we can tweak things as necessary if we do find any deleterious effects on any one road user or type of road user.
Thank you.
Felice?
I would like to, thank you. I would like to echo what Jeffrey and Valerie had stated and add this. We don't need to get rid of cars that's parked. Okay, I'm a driver. I also take public transportation. What we need to utilize are those cameras that's on the bus. Okay, they don't utilize that. Those tickets come to my office. Now, if we utilize what we have, we can minimize what's going on. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you are right. We are. So yes, the bus party project itself is sort of a bigger picture thing in terms of looking at Flatbush Avenue as a whole. But programmatically, we are looking to, I don't know, Warren, if you want to mention this, but the MTA has been rolling out on a larger scale and at an accelerating pace on bus lane cameras as a means of enforcing bus lanes.
Yeah, as of right now, we've enabled, we have a contract for 500 on-bus cameras that we're working to install and enable across typically the SBS routes. Are the first to have them installed. We have a contract with Hayden AI. That's a group that manufactures those able buses. And typically in that program, you only get a ticket for blocking the bus lane if you're photographed twice. So for example, if you're parked and one bus comes by, takes a photo, and then the next bus behind it comes by and takes a photo, if that's within a 5-minute period, then you're issued a ticket to those buses. Then the DOT is also installing mounted cameras throughout the city to monitor the bus lanes. So we are actively trying to get that onboard bus camera enforcement going. It has been a slow rollout, but there are a number of buses equipped with that throughout the city. But yeah, we could do better at having that enabled on more buses, because I agree that is a effective tool. And to that earlier question, I also wanted to just remind everyone that the MTA bus redesigns are also going on. The one we just completed in the Bronx, we implemented that in June, and the draft plan for the Brooklyn redesign should be coming out later in the year. So I want to just remind everyone to look for that. I'm sure we'll be back to discuss the impact of that on Community Board 9, but just wanted to bring that up as well in the larger context. We are looking at Brooklyn on a holistic scale, trying to take into account all the different bus lines. So look for that in the fourth quarter of this year, the draft plan, and you're all invited to comment on that. And I'm sure we'll be back to discuss that as well. Both, and of course, these DOT programs are a big part of that. So we're working in conjunction to take, to look at Brooklyn from a broader perspective and redesign some of the bus lines in Brooklyn.
Fred?
Okay, well, first of all, let me start by thanking you for coming this evening and giving this presentation. This is great. I think it really gives us a little bit to think about and digest. You've really come to the right place, because this committee has been phenomenal over the years, between the thoughtfulness, between the dedication, and they know their stuff. So I think this is a great first stop, and I definitely invite you to come back to this committee. And I would offer right now that CB9 would be more than willing to host a town hall, where we can work collaboratively in this, so that way we can really get a sense of what the district is looking forward to, where the pain points are. Yeah, this is definitely one of the sections of the route that is very difficult, because particularly where it enters into CB9, Flatbush narrows a lot. So we lose a lot of real estate. So it really becomes that one of those choke points until you get through from Empire Boulevard, definitely through our border at Clarkson, going all the way down to maybe Church Avenue before you get any kind of relief. So we definitely want to make sure that we're thinking about solutions that take that into account, because there's just not a lot of room. So we want to make sure that while we're moving buses, it doesn't necessarily become a choke point where nothing moves through the district at that point. One of the things is, as long as we're thinking boldly and just even looking at it, one of the things I would ask you to look into and perhaps see if there's any feasibility. One of the few things that does seem to move, I think one of the issues is, especially because of the narrowness of the corridor, buses get stuck very easily. So between they can't get out of the bus pads, or they're stuck, or people are jumping in front of them, or a number of other things. So it's just a really tough section to navigate. One of the things that I think maybe we look at is dollar vans or microbuses. They seem to have a little bit more mobility. They're able to navigate that traffic a little bit better. And especially because we're dealing with a very narrow corridor there, it might be an opportunity to speed in terms of if we're looking at that section where you're only waiting for 5 or 6 people, but you have a number of these things coming through, which means it can get people through the corridor. They can navigate a little bit better. And it's probably a little bit easier in terms of the stops that they have to make. So I just offer that as something that maybe we add that into as part of the toolkit in terms of we look at that. One of the things I'm very interested in as well is the feedback, how you're gathering the feedback and the methods that you're gathering the data. Because I think it's one of those things that we want to make sure that we're all clear in terms of what are the questions we're asking, because obviously we'll get answers, but what are the real questions behind that? So if you can share, at any point, even if it's not this evening, what's the methodologies? What are the questions we're trying to answer? Because I think that's going to help in terms of the feedback we get back from the district in terms of what we're looking for and what we really think is going to actually help us with improving bus service.
Thank you. Yes, no, we're starting to put that methodology together now, but definitely appreciate the offer to consult with you folks on that. Certainly, you are the experts in your own neighborhood. And certainly, we do plan to, we appreciate being here with you on Zoom. We definitely will be doing on-street outreach. That's definitely in multiple languages. That's a very important part of, I think, the process for this, especially. Okay,
but I would definitely like it to be coordinated with the board as opposed to, I think there's more value for us to hear it in real time as well. I think this is a fantastic opportunity because, to be blunt, honestly, we hear about these things at the back end where the study's already been done. We've already kind of have it, and you can have chocolate or vanilla, but otherwise there's not much more choices after that. So at least this way we can really get in on the front end in terms of giving that, that perspective in terms of what it is, start that process of thinking outside of the box, again, from the experts who live in the district, who are affected by that on a daily basis. So, so with respect to that. But absolutely, if we can partner with that, especially if you can include us as part of that, that outreach, that feedback, that data gathering, I think that's helpful for us in terms of we can come back and speak more intelligently, in terms of what we think might be helpful in this instance. But again, thank you so much for coming out this evening. Standing invite, come on over. And definitely please work with Mia and Dante in the district office as soon as we can. I think this is an excellent opportunity to let's get this done early. So perhaps even maybe in the next month or so, we can try and get a town hall together in the district.
Hey, it's Warren. I just wanted to add one thing. Also, could you take a look at Lincoln Road, which is a major conduit for buses turning right down Flatbush Avenue South and turning left Flatbush Avenue North, and the amount of congestion that is there, especially because it's a major pedestrian pathway, especially on the weekends.
Will do. Lincoln Road.
Absolutely, yeah. We've that's a tough place. We've had a lot of issues there with bus operations over the years. All the congestion right there. We've been trying to figure out a way, working with DOT, to adjust the location of the bus layovers. There's a school there outside of the Q train.
Correct.
So yeah, we're aware of those issues, and all the deliveries to ever since that grocery store has opened up there, it's been even more difficult. So yeah, we're aware of that. Been working on it. Absolutely taking that
Thank
into
you. Yeah, just as long as you're aware of it and you're correct, because Lincoln Market, the deliveries are right there in the same area that the buses, let off and take on people, as well as a rest stop. So
Right.
thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And they often have full tractor trailers there, blocking the entire road. It's it's a difficult place.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much again. Okay, all right.
Thank you for having us.
So we rearranged the agenda a little bit. So we are now at item 3, which I have as introductions. So we're a little bit late, about an hour into the meeting. We're going to do intros, but I think it's good, especially we do have a new member of the board and who's on this committee as well. So it might be helpful for Ted, not to call you out, but just to introduce ourselves, give a little bit of background very, very quickly, because I want to try and get everybody out reasonable time this evening. So if we can just do a quick round in terms of introductions, how long you've been on the committee, how if you serve with the board, and just basically who we are.
I'm going to jump off, but thank you so much for having us. It was really a pleasure talking to you all, and good luck with a wonderful year at the Transportation Committee. We'll be back.
And thank you so much.
Is
Thank
there
you.
someone?
Thank you so much, Warren.
And
No, you're
Fred,
welcome.
also jumping off, but you can email me with any questions or give me a call. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Diana.
If there's any, suggestions, or if anyone, with the community board that wants to meet and discuss the Lincoln Road issue, we've been trying to solve that forever. So we'd be happy to have any input from the community board. It's been an ongoing issue. So please reach out, or I can reach out to one of you here, and we can try to work on that as well.
Okay. So if we have any follow-ups, we can just go through Diana, just send them to Diana and she'll forward them to you?
Yeah, Diana. And then, Andy Inglesby, he's normally the MTA.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
He's on vacation this week, but you can also reach out to him and we can set something up as well if anybody's interested, because we would love to get that situation, alleviate some of that congestion over there, because it's very difficult for buses. Thanks so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much again.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night now. All right. So let us go on to that next one. We'll do a quick round robin of introductions. We got a lot smaller. Okay. So looking in no particular order, but yes, I am. Ted.
Hi there,
Tell everyone
everyone.
hi.
Hi there. My name is Ted Pilcati. I lifelong New Yorker, grew up in Queens, and then have been spending the last 6 years or so in different areas of Brooklyn. This is my first time in a board generally, and honestly, and honestly, very thankful to be in this committee and to partake in it. Been pretty quiet mostly to just kind of learn the ropes at the moment of things, but yeah, I live in Lenox Road here, and about 3 years now. Yeah, and transportation is a big focus of mine. I looked at shovel because I was working remotely today, but normally I have a fairly sizable commute to Manhattan. But yeah, that's trying to make it short. So
Thank you very much, and welcome to the committee, and welcome to the board again. All right, let me see. Paco.
Hey, everyone. I think I know everyone aside from Ted. Nice to meet you, Ted. I'm also a native New Yorker, also grew up in Queens, but last 20 years have been in Brooklyn, and last like 10 or so have been in this district, and last, I think 5 or so have been on this transportation committee, or at least coming to the meetings. But I think on that, I was actually looking recently, Fred, I think the bike ride you, me, and Callista did around CV9 was around 5 years ago. So it's probably more.
I remember that, yeah.
Around here. But yeah, I've been always interested in transportation. I drive, I bike, I take the bus a lot now with 2 little kids, 1-year-old and 4-year-old. And so in the last few years, I think my transportation focus is very much on safer streets for children in particular, because I think we all know there's, I mean, no one should be hurt, but especially little kids that can't even be seen, as they're crossing the street. So I'm excited for another year on the committee and hope we get some good stuff done.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that, Paco. Ms. Fleming.
Good evening. How are you? My name is
Doing
Valerie.
well.
Great. My name is Valerie Fleming. I've been a part of the Transportation Committee for several years now. Very interested in the flow of how we're doing things. I'm kind of starting to look at this new thing now. That was the 15-minute city, where everything is in your neighborhood. That you don't have to go so far. Regrettably, the way our towns are set up, everything is all over town. So you got to go from here to there. Parents are running, taking their kids to Fort Greene to do this, and then they're going back down to Sheepshead Bay to do something else. But that's just how it is. But I'm just really interested because I didn't really realize the number of factors when it comes to transportation planning until I had my arthroscopic surgery on my knee. And it took me 2 traffic lights to get across the street. And I was impacted by the vehicles. I was impacted by the bikes because they were annoyed because I was in their way, the taxi drivers, the scooters. And I was like, well, hey, all I'm trying to do is cross the street. And then some of the changes that are coming up to include how they're changing the corners. Well, there's like a host of things, so I'm not going to go on with that. But I'm very interested in how we can make our community flow so everybody can safely get to their destination without having to fear for their life, whether they are riding a bike, in a car, scooter, electric bicycle, or whatever it is. So I'm just trying to look at how can we safely do that.
Thanks so much. And that was probably me on the bike, and I didn't know that was you. My bad. Mr. Granum.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I don't even know what year this is. For a minute, I thought it was not going to be a year, but it's great to have consistency in a committee such as this. So I'm always pleased to see familiar faces back on this board. I think we work well together, and I look forward to continuing to do that work this year because we're facing challenges that we've never seen before. Valerie just mentioned the 15-minute city, which is a book or an article, I can't remember, that we did discuss last year. And one of the things that I hope we get back to is sharing transportation-specific articles that bring insight and information from other cities and other countries who are ahead of us. Because sometimes I don't know if New Yorkers realize that we're not exactly the city that things are tested on. Usually when they make it to New York, they've been tested and perfected elsewhere. So, you know, and that's not just transportation. It's a lot of things that if you travel, you'll see they're doing, and then eventually they make their way here. So, you know, the articles that are out there on transportation issues, I know I can't read them all myself. And I can't even keep up with, you know, what they are. So I think if collectively we all keep our eyes and ears open, we can kind of raise the bar, you know, knowledge bar for all of the participants on the committee. All right. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that. And I think that's a point very well taken. Yeah, I think that sometimes the proof of concept has been done in so many different places. So yeah, I think that is one of the demands we should be asking is, okay, well, listen, this is great. It probably exists somewhere, and let's see where the lessons have been learned. What can we bring to our city, to our borough, to our district to make things work and really make it better for everyone? But thank you very much for that. So two other members it looks like they had to leave. So Felice was on earlier. Felice is also a board member. And this is more for Ted's benefit. So Felice is a board member as well. And she's been on the Transportation Committee for a couple of years at this point. We also had Calista De Jesus. She's been here a long time. We have a lot of grizzled veterans on this committee. So, you know, this is really a great place to come to do work and learn a lot, because I know I always do every time I come to this committee. Last, we have two people that we definitely need to introduce. So we have our first vice chair, Warren. You want to say a couple of words?
Sure. Hi, everybody. You're very familiar with me. This is one of the committees that I have the most respect for in terms of its ongoing work. And I have to tell you, the last two comments are so on target. Mr. Granum saying about, you know, things that are going on for other cities. I mean, I was just interested that why didn't they bring up tonight the whole thing of just having exclusive bus highways, meaning you take the bus lanes, you put barriers there, and it's just buses. The other thing was Valerie's comments, who's been a member of this committee for years, that, you know, there really has to be something planned out, because I just find this a very dangerous place to ride my bike and to walk. But I'm so happy with this committee, and I just hope we continue doing what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Warren. And last but not least, the person who really needs no introduction, we have our assistant district manager, Mia Hilton. Been with this board for a good amount of time. She's one of she's part of the glue that keeps us going and keeps this thing running. So I just really want to acknowledge her very quickly, and thanks again for everything you do for this district and for all our committees, Mia.
Thanks, Fred.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to say too, or?
Oh, sorry. Well, the regulars know me. Hey, hi, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome, Ted. Looking forward to another rambunctious year. It's one of my favorite committees. I can't lie. Between ULURP and transportation, the energy is always there. So I appreciate it and hoping for a good year with you guys.
Thanks so much again, Mia. Okay, all right. So now for the next few pieces of business, hopefully we're going to go through this very quickly. The big piece was I definitely wanted to make sure that we got the B41 project in here, because I wanted to make sure that this is not something that took off without us and we didn't have an opportunity to hear about it first and start, at least being able to digest and come up with solutions with that. And as we go into this next piece about committee expectations and procedures, that's really what I'm looking for from all the committees, transportation, all of them, in terms of just really being in the community, being embedded, and really learning everything we need to, and being the advocates. So I ask everyone to bring your experiences, bring your thoughts, bring that knowledge that you bring. If you hear of things, to share that with the committee as well, because I found that that's part of the strength, where we learn as we go along in terms of we're able to expand our knowledge base and develop solutions and advocate in very real and positive ways for the district. So with that being said, this is probably more just for me to say it, but this is something that's been always, part of the way the committee, this committee is operated in terms of expectations. So first and primary attendance, we did, again, this is probably just more of a quick glossing over. We're just asking everyone to make sure we're trying to make sure that we're as consistent as possible in terms of the committee dates. So we ask you to please plan those in advance. Obviously, life happens, and you know what, family or whatever, work conflicts or those things do happen. But we just ask for everyone to, as best as possible, just make sure that we're attending. Courtesy and order. Not necessarily an issue here, but especially as we have people from the district, from the community coming, we want to make sure we're modeling that in terms of we're treating everyone with respect. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect here. We're modeling that, but we also require that for the people who come to our committee meetings. We want to make sure that we're running in an orderly fashion. The one thing I don't want to do is a disservice of wasting anybody's time here. Everyone is busy. You are here because you are embedded in this community. You're doing things. So we want to make sure that you don't find it robbery in terms of coming to these meetings. And for anyone who comes to the meetings, where they're able to be heard and we can move the agenda in an expeditious manner. Planning. We're going to, the one thing I'll ask is that as we think of things, if there are activities, if there are events that you want the board to definitely jump into, to make sure that you're bringing up these ideas, but as we're doing it, also being sensitive to time factors. So in terms of, if it's something really important that we need to do in a week, depending on the urgency, yes. But depending on, but more often than not, we should be able to take our time to plan effectively. So that way we're able to make sure that the resources are available. If we need spaces, we can put in reservations. If there's flyers that need to be done, we can get those flyers. Or if there are other resources we need to bring to bear, we want to make sure that we're giving ourselves time. So one of the things that we'll be able to preview, not this month, but probably for next month, let's make sure the committee gets a preview of that. The district office has created an event planning budget request form. And what that does is assist the committee in terms of outlining all the information we need from the district office perspective, for the executive committee, and for the board to approve events. So that way we know the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, the how, and how much. So we're trying to expand that to make sure all committees do that, and really just to make sure that we're all focused when we're doing events and we're planning. Communications, just, if there's any issues or questions, please feel free to reach out to the chair once I've established the chair. You can reach out to me directly as well. Please do not hesitate. And definitely our district office team serves as a resource. They're here to support you. So if there are any questions or any issues that come up, please always feel free to refer those to the district office. And it's key, too, because I think one of the criticisms sometimes we hear is, why hasn't the board done something? The thing is, the board, we don't always know what we don't know. So that's where it becomes critical, where if you see the issues, if we know that there are dangerous intersections, if we know that there are issues that have popped up, to make sure that we're letting the district office know, particularly if it's some kind of an issue or a complaint, to make sure that we're filing with 311, put those complaints in, and make sure that we're reporting that to the district office team. Mia, Dante, and our soon-to-arrive third person in the office are great in terms of following up, because sometimes these things do linger in 311, but they are very good in terms of being able to pick up the requests and make sure that they make the calls to the appropriate agencies to get things done. But again, so making sure we're communicating, and when we see something, say something and let the district office know. And we use that data because hopefully that informs the way we need to do it. If it's a one-time thing, fine, we can get an agency to fix it. If it happens 50 times, that might be a policy issue. We need to have those conversations and make sure the board weighs in, or we get other people to weigh in about chronic issues in the district. I think that, again, with regards to the chair, so I'm definitely looking to move and try and get a chair in place as quickly as possible so you have consistency. But in the meantime, please feel free to just reach out to the office or myself. And lastly, I just tell you, and I guess this is something that really is not necessary because you always do that, is just be ambitious in terms of the agenda you're trying to set. Let's think big. I encourage all of our committees to think big. I think it was mentioned before. It's like, the world is there in terms of the options we can do. So let's look at that, from that perspective. I also say, and let's be realistic as well, in terms of my expectation from all the committees is if we do 3 or 4 things well, I am more than satisfied with that, as opposed to we're trying to do 20 different things. 3 or 4 things well. So just think about that. Next month will probably be dedicated in terms of the goal setting aspect of that. But just think of those things that we want to make sure that we're continuing. Think of those things that we really probably want to start thinking about addressing on a bigger scale if we need to as well. Okay, so that completes section 3 in terms of committee expectations and procedures. Does anybody have any questions at this time?
I have a quick question. This is
Sure,
Val
go ahead,
Fleming.
Yes.
What about like follow-up stuff? You gave the procedure on the expectations of our committee and all of the other committees as well, because I'm assuming that, it's still the same process. But what about like when we have people to come in and like, for example, I'm just going to use, we have DOT come in and they say they're going to do X, Y, or we pose a question about a certain situation. And it takes so long for them to come back with a response. And we have to keep asking them over and over. And they're like, oh, I got to go check it. And so how many meetings have to go by before we have to ensure that we get the response back from whomever the party in that organization is? Because it seems like some of the things we have are like lingering, and that we haven't brought like resolution to some things or responses to some things. For example, I'm just taking this at the top of my head. For the design team for the project on Empire Boulevard near the Western Beef. 2 things that we asked about. One was how is that park, how the park, the green area is going to look like. And 2, how do you come out of the parking lot? What's that street? Lincoln Road or whatever? I think, is that Lincoln that's right there that's Lincoln, right?
That's Sterling Street, when you come out the rear of Western Beef.
Right, so when you come out the rear from Western Beef, where is the signage to show, so that we're safely coming out into the street? How does that look? So this is just examples, what is the process? Is there going to be a revisited process of getting responses?
Well, what I would probably offer is this, and that's probably good in terms of, for the next meeting, make that an agenda item in terms of let's create the tick list of the stuff that's outstanding still, that you still haven't gotten answers for. Some of it is, again, I think, and this is how I just hold such regard, Mia and Dante in such regard, because they can push that a little bit. Some of it is you don't get the answers because they don't have the answers, or they're trying to slow walk it a little bit because that's conversations they don't want to have. But we keep pushing the answers. And and that'll be something we keep on the tick list in terms of we're going to ask as many times as it takes, but you always deserve an answer. So we'll make sure on that level from my level as chair, and the district office is going to do what they need to do. And listen, I have no issues in terms of, if we need to get some other elected officials in there to say, if you don't want to respond to us, you can respond to the elected officials. Sometimes you need to use that leverage as well. But all the tools in the toolkit, we'll use them. But definitely, if by next month, let's make sure we start building a tick list of the overdue responses.
I appreciate that, because I noticed that last year they were using, because of COVID. Okay, well, COVID is a part of our life now. So what about COVID is preventing you from getting the project done or having a due date completed or whatever it is? Because, I don't want this to be, because like that, to me, when they say COVID, because of COVID, it's almost like affordable housing. Oh, really? Affordable to whom? Yeah, okay. So I'm just throwing it out there. I appreciate you now, Fred. Thank you.
No, but I appreciate you asking the question. But I appreciate you asking that question. And yes, we need to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have questions or? Okay. All right. So we're going to move quickly, and I think we're going to wrap up very shortly. So the next thing I had was in terms of committee goals for the year. So obviously, I just want us to start the process. This month was just really to kind of get together, do the introductions. I wanted to lay out at least that initial issue, but you've been here for a while. Everyone's experienced. Everybody has perspectives. So I just, challenge everyone to come back next month with what do we think that, we should be trying to achieve as a transportation committee and, by extension, as a board with respect to transportation for the year. So what do we want to work on? What are those 3 or 4 priorities that we really need to try, be putting a lot of efforts in those? So I'll just ask everyone that will make sure, so that'll be part of the agenda for next month. You have those, we solidify those, and then we're off and running, and that's going to be the priorities for the year going forward. Okay, so that's all I have for that. Now, as we're in the first meeting of the year, is there any pressing old business or anything that we definitely needed to bring back to the table? We're going to make sure that we create that tick list of anything that's outstanding. Is there anything else that we need to be looking at, working on?
Well, I'm curious if we know big picture. I mean, it's partly the checklist of things to go over, but big picture, I know City Bike has been in discussion for like 5 years or something. And I think in the spring, we heard it was supposed to come in the fall. If our next meeting with DOT is October, and it was supposed to implement by the fall, I'm curious if that is still on pace. I think that would be a pretty big change for the neighborhood. I think it's a positive change, but it's a big change. So I'm curious if that is still on the horizon. And then similarly, I think maybe it was 4 years ago, but there was an Ocean Avenue redesign that was part of a parks-led project, but it affects DOT. I think there's a changed sidewalk and trees and bike path and stuff. But that also was a thing that was like years in the making that I kept hearing it get pushed. So, I'll email over a dozen other smaller things, but I feel like big things, those feel like 2 that are pretty big outstanding to me. And I'm curious if you already know things or if it's on deck or what that is.
Yeah, I don't know offhand, but we'll get you, we'll try and get you an update on where that is. And as you even said that, so we talked about City Bike, Empire Boulevard, what's going on with that, the Ocean Avenue redesign, speed humps. I know that that's been a big issue for a while. I think we had done an initial outreach to try and get the status of some of these things. Some of them had been approved already. So what's going on with that? We probably need to talk about speed cameras because I've seen the proliferation with those. So we probably should have a better idea in terms of what's the plan for that one. Is there a plan on speed humps? My own personal pet peeve, I think they need to also look at the street signs because a lot of these things are faded out. You can't even tell what streets are anymore. If there's any maintenance issues or if they're, what the rollout plans are for street construction and things of that nature. So that's just to get the ball rolling. But if you send those into the office, we can start looking at that and try and see if we can get, if we can get you answers to some of the stuff or if there's follow-ups we need to be doing. Okay. All right. So I don't think we have any new business for right now, so I think there's just a lot of information we owe for you. We're going to try and make sure we get you that by next month. So for next month, hopefully we're going to have the chair established by, for the committee. We want to get back some of those answers that we have. I do want to also see what the next steps are going to be with respect to the 41 project. I want to keep the momentum going on this. And if there's any other items that you have or questions, please feel free to just give those to the office. And we take it from that perspective. Talking too fast, that's what that was. All right. Okay, so with that, the floor is open. Is there any questions, last hits? Seeing none. Seeing none. Okay. Was there a question?
No, I was saying no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one other thing I'll just say very quickly is I've had a lot of conversations. I think just last weekend the block party there was a bunch. I saw Rita Joseph, Brian Cunningham, and Zellner Myrie, I think within 3 minutes. And one I saw both days. Like I see them in the neighborhood a lot, and I talk about transportation issues with them a lot. I think it's I don't know how often I think we blanket invite them to all transportation meetings, like all CB meetings, but I find that all 3 of them have a real interest in street safety and transportation and stuff that I think it might behoove us to really embrace that. I think it's a trifecta of leadership right there that are all would probably say they like the transportation committee as well and like are interested in those issues. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm
We are very fortunate in terms of we have a lot of cooperative partners, in elected office right now. So you know what? Strike while the iron's hot and let's ask them for whatever we need to ask them for. Absolutely. Okay. All right then. So with that, listen, everyone, thanks again for a very productive meeting. Looking forward to a great year. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
second.
Okay. All right. Unless there's any objections, we will stand adjourned. The time is now 8:26 p.m. Everyone, thanks. Have a great one.
Thanks
You
all.
too. Thank
Good
you.
evening,
Take
everyone.
care.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.